Welcome to another episode of the Apex Perspective podcast. Today I have with Rohit Khanna, who in his career has started off in the hospitality industry. He led the director level at multiple companies and currently is now the founder of multiple initiatives, including IT by Us, AI Crash Course, and Bodhi Minds AI. Now, Rohit, can we get started with your background from your perspective and how led you to what you're doing today?
Oh, it's been a journey. It started way back. I don't want to disclose how old I am, but that's not relevant right now. But I was always fascinated towards the hospitality industry. And funny enough, a lot of people don't know the fact that I started my career as a chef. I was the youngest chef in New Delhi for a fine dining restaurant. My name was in the magazines, in the hospitality magazines, and I was running a fine dining restaurant um, when Hilton was in India, and I'm talking about way back in um, 95, 96, and eventually moved to London as a chef with Hilton, and reached a point where always wanted to do more. First,
Mhm.
it was all about like traveling and seeing things. And once I reached that perspective in professionally in the cooking side of things, and there was no growth in that area that I could learn more at that point of time because I was looking to educate more about myself. But when I asked for help, the colleges told me, you already have so much background. There is no courses that match. So I decided to go. I seek mentorship and from a professor, and I
Mhm.
moved to Switzerland to do my master's. And even there, I was challenged that you're coming to education after 10 years of working. So you need to start at a lower level. And I kind of fought my way through and gave it in writing that if I don't score a certain amount of GPA, I'll degrade from master's to a postgraduate. But I did
Wow.
beat all the targets that I had to achieve. But even in my master's, the thesis that I chose, which also currently relates to my persona per se, is that I'm
Mhm.
always looking for what's next and the greatest. So at that point, when I was in doing my master's, websites had just come into play. Web revolution had just come into play. I was fascinated by it. So instead of taking any normal uh, path for my thesis, I took a path on web perception of three-star Michelin
Mhm.
restaurants. And at that point, there was no research available in terms of the quality of the websites.
Mhm.
So, especially when you think of three-star Michelin restaurant, you know automatically the expectation is really high and it's very experiential.
Of
So the
course.
question was that is the website designed in the same thoughtful manner when it came to the three-star Michelin restaurant, hence the web
Mhm.
perception. And even that, to finish that, was a challenge because lack of research, lack of research in terms of the quality of a website. The only research that was available was for a hospital sector websites. So I had to
Mhm.
build an instrument in order to evaluate a food and beverage operation website. And even when I reached out to all the Michelin star restaurants, some of them were like, we don't need a website. But look where we are now. There is not a single
Mm.
business out there that doesn't have a website. It's the same revolution I felt when the advent of OpenAI and other LLMs came into play a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And that fascinated me because it took me back to the years of the era when websites just came out.
Mhm.
And it was all about the curiosity that I had, that I'm always questioning things. Like even as a child, like I used to question why when you see a plane, there is a red light on one side and green light on the other side. So it was
Mhm.
always like, always why the milk is pasteurized or how does that process work? So I
Yeah.
always had a journal where I used to write all these processes and thanks to my dad that gave me the 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 passion for insatiable curiosity, and that thing led to into AI. And
Mhm.
I applied for Perplexity Business Fellowship, got accepted, and I just finished in March, which exposed turned my life upside down. And in hospitality is such a human centric business. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to technology, and especially, I think I don't even think it's a fact that people compare AI with industrial revolution, but the
Right.
industrial revolution was caused by humans. We are dealing with it for the first time in the history of a human lifetime, that we are dealing with a technology that is recursive, self-improving, without
Mm-hmm.
any human intervention. So we
Right.
haven't in our lifetimes, our four grandfathers, or even before that, dealt with the technology that was self-improving. The human
Mm-hmm.
element was always involved. And
Mm-hmm.
hospitality is not something that is, it's a very value-based, it's very human-centric. You
Mm-hmm.
can't fake it. If you're
Mm-hmm.
faking it, you're not making it, as they
Exactly.
say.
Yeah.
So you don't really mean, and if you don't really like, I was asked, I remember, I was cooking uh, in the middle of the desert, in Rajasthan, Udaipur. The Italian ambassador's wife asked me, "What is your favorite dish to make?" And
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, "Pardon me, ma'am, how many kids do you have?" And she said, "Three." I said, "Which one is your favorite?" And she looked at me and smiled, got up, and gave me a hug. The whole point
Yeah.
was that it's the intention in life, no matter what you do, whether Aryan, you do in the podcast, if your intention is not right, the product is never going to be good. And
Exactly.
now, and now with AI, we call it intent. So
Mm-hmm.
the methodology is the same, the philosophy is the same. It's all about the intent. If your intent is not right, and you're not able to give the context, the result is not going to be good.
Excellent. Great point.
So,
And
so
to ask about, apologies for interrupting you. You said in the beginning that a lot of these Michelin star restaurants were kind of resistant to having websites because that was a head of the curve situation. Why do you think the hospitality industry might be a little bit slower to adapting to the changing times?
um, that's just the nature of the business, because hospitality is um, hospitality and travel are always lagging behind, no matter what. The
Mm-hmm.
whole infrastructure is really fragmented. It's not very cohesive like other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Exact reasoning is more so to do with change management, that we
Mm-hmm.
are resistant to change, or we've been doing this for the last 20 years. This is how we're going to do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people have this thing about, if I keep this recipe to myself, it's power. But they don't realize that when you share the knowledge and when you distribute it and you build other more leaders, you actually grow and make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, it so in hospitality, it always takes time before the rest of the industries, they kind of to catch up. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
websites now, but now also, the change management that needs to happen is still not there, because people are like, okay, I build a website, you build it, uh, and forget it. Then you focused on your social media marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Now your website, your front end will not matter. It's your back end, that is how the structure of the website is, how the metadata is, how
Mm-hmm.
the website hygiene is. There's so many important things that are going to matter for you to be
Mm-hmm.
found, and
Mm-hmm.
your website becomes a living document. What
Mm-hmm.
happened when AI came into play? So if you look on LinkedIn, or if you look anywhere, everybody has a podcast, everybody has a newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
everybody is writing articles, and majority of it is like, everybody is building app. Apple just dumped a whole bunch of apps because there was no users. Everybody sitting in their living room or a garage is creating apps, but there is no domain knowledge. But the amount of apps have just gone, like, the product that you can build. But the thing is, who's behind the product? What domain expertise do you have? Do
Mm-hmm.
you understand the problem that you're trying to solve, or are you just creating for the heck of it?
Exactly. Yes.
See,
And
but the point is, like,
yeah.
how do you touch in hospitality? that how do you make the human or the person that is going to deliver that
Hmm.
wow moment, how do you equip them with AI so that can take care of the minutia and they can focus on the things that really matter?
Exactly. And I've been speaking to a lot of digital transformation leaders, and one of the biggest problems with AI or digital transformation themselves is the fact that the stakeholders involved, the major stakeholders involved, including the employees and the people, are not being involved properly in the digital transformation themselves. So, what do you think is potentially an issue when it comes to the hospitality industry specifically with those kind of transformations? Is it hard to get the major stakeholders involved in these transformations? And is that why you think that these are a bit more difficult to do?
See, we have to change our ideology, the way we think.
Hmm.
I was on a call this morning with my partners in India, and the CEO was there, Chief Growth Officer. He said, I said, let's just forget the titles for the timing. We're here as a team to solve a problem. Let's just focus on the problem that we're trying to solve, and let put our egos aside. And I think
Hmm.
if you look in the AI world, the most brilliant work is being done by somebody that is really young. They are 21, 20, in between the age group of 21 to 24. But when you see an executive dealing with them, it's like, what are you going to teach me? I have been doing this for last 20 years. That is not the mentality you want to go with.
Hmm.
You're going to be open enough that yes, you have the domain expertise, but at the same time, give the other person the value that they deserve or the respect that they deserve for the work they're doing, and work together hand in hand. Listen, understand what they are trying to do and with their passion, and to make the way the world is evolving so rapidly, that what can
Hmm.
you learn from them and how can you equip them to build a better future?
Yeah. Hmm.
Because it's not
So,
just about, okay, most like some of the discovery calls I had is like, okay, I'm going to retire in 1 year, I just want to be done and over with, I don't want to deal with this. The problem itself is not going to go away. Yeah, like just like everything in life, as humans, we have good, and we have good habits and bad habits. It's the
hmm.
same thing with everything. Nothing is perfect. I have
Hmm.
coined a term that is that you want to strive for imperfectly perfect, because in this era where um, everything is driven towards perfection, perfection will eventually become boring, and imperfection is going to become hard. Look at what
Hmm.
happened in Harvard, the platform they built to make AI uh, outputs with mistakes.
Right.
So it's a
Yes.
questionly or something. I forget the name right now, but but see, the thing is that originality. That every email is perfect, every communication is perfect, yet we are not focusing on the core of it. That what this technology is eventually doing. What are
Hmm.
the layers involved? What are the threats? What are the opportunities? What are the vulnerabilities? There's so many conversations that need to be had, and
Right.
and on top of that, above all, I've always been like, yes, I agree that you won't need to go to college to get a major master's degree and spend another 50 to 400 grand on your education. You can learn from the platforms that are available, and
Hmm.
you can see how Google and all the other giants, how they are hiring young and they are training them young and learning while on the job. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that AI literacy becomes really important. And we need to have those conversations. It's not, I have founders have told me, oh, we never had education when it came to the web. You can't compare the two technologies, they're
No.
completely different.
Yeah. Agreed. So let's talk about the intent when it comes to AI. We were discussing before the podcast that there is a contingent of individuals or even organizations that have the intention of applying AI due to the fact that it has a strong emphasis right now. But then there's a difference between that and the process of looking at what kind of impact you want to make at the organizational level and then applying AI. So from your perspective, How do you think the application of AI should be done at the organizational level to have the highest impact?
See, what we are at the era of where we have AI overload, because every
Mm-hmm.
conversation we have is AI, 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 AI. But the general sentiment, people don't understand what this technology is all about. They think the evolution of AI was when ChatGPT came out.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask majority of the people, they don't know that this technology has been around for
Mm-hmm.
the longest time. And right now, what has happened is um, um, y- y- we are living in a very destabilized environment, politically, geopolitically, and all the other stuff. That has created a stage where people are actually conscious how little they have um, control. So the emotional equilibrium is under enormous pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So just using AI for the sake of using AI because it's hot and it's cool is not the point. The
Mm-hmm.
point is, what are you using this problem for? And now, with the current geopolitical environment, it's not just how you're solving the problem, how you're choosing the vendor. Geopolitically, where is the data when you is going to be stored? Who's going to be in control of that? Or
Mm-hmm.
there are so many factors that need to be kept in mind. But the whole idea is to go after the minutia, the
Mm-hmm.
problems that can create time for the humans
Mm-hmm.
to really focus on things that really do well. AI will
Right.
never have
Exactly.
empathy. AI will never have that, that it can imitate. So how there is a thing about, uh, you know, we are all asking about like, hey, how can I make this thing better? But we are not asking the a word called pre-mortem, where what if this thing goes wrong?
Exactly.
What
And
is our backup plan?
you made a very good point before we started the podcast about the risk and vulnerability about regarding AI. Now there is again lots of talks about how much agency it can give a company to do things at scale with AI, the kind of benefits of automations, these workflows, but there's not enough discussion on the vulnerabilities and the risks. So from your perspective, what do we need to look at, and what is not being talked about enough?
See, somebody wise, I can't think because I hear every time I wake up, I'm listening stuff on YouTube
Mhm.
with various leaders. One of the thing is this is not a country or a continent problem. It's an international problem, and it needs to
Mhm.
be addressed globally. Um,
Okay.
okay, it's going to be really difficult to do that because the way things are. But it's not just about, oh, how can I protect myself and not worry about anything else. If you look at 2 years ago, Jeffrey Hinton did an interview on CBS. If anybody has not watched it, I highly recommend go and watch it because he clearly outlines the vulnerabilities of AI and that how we need to go back to our roots, and really that you're basically focusing on like how do I build a trust in an era where first I get the answer before I can think of a question,
Mhm.
uh, where I have more information than I need. I can make anything perfect, but and it's hard to tell what is real and what is fake. So what makes you stand
Mhm.
apart is that, like we talked about before the podcast, that you can be scripted about things. You can be really have another agent in front of me telling me what to say, what is right, what is wrong. But by the end of the day, the user on the other side or the listener on the other side is not stupid. It's not
Mhm.
the AI is just listening. If the human is listening, they're going to be able to tell what is scripted and what is not. And like, I'm not perfect. This is not something new to like, I don't like, this is something new to me, but
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of being wrong. I want to
Mhm.
make mistakes. I want to learn. And understanding the good and the bad is equally important. And
Mhm.
hence I've laid the focus on, I just was reading about Article 4 of EU AI Act, which really
Mhm.
focuses on AI literacy and
Mhm.
sets the guidelines for anybody dealing with AI. And it clearly outlines, that they don't want you to become a coder, or they don't want to design systems, but just the fundamentals. And if you
Yeah.
don't know the fundamentals, like, right now, anybody that I have, like, between my friends and my family, we have code words, because anybody can clone my voice. Now you're going to put this podcast, they can clone my voice, and they can call anybody in my family and say, hey, I'm in trouble. And the biggest thing is, we have a code word. Hey, what did you have for dinner last night? Or where did we go for vacation? Or something that AI would not know.
Mhm.
So while the productivity can is increased 10 times, people think that AI is going to make their life easier. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And,
think
and
it's go ahead,
sorry,
please.
go ahead.
I think it's absolutely not understood that yes, it's absolutely a massive productivity benefit. It has a massive benefits in that regard, but it's also about looking about how it's being perceived. Because I know you also mentioned about the authenticity aspect of things. Because
Mhm.
if there are certain workflows that are being done, such as potentially automating bookings, automating potential engagement with clients and such, that reduces potentially quality of service, quality of how companies are being perceived. So there's different things that are not being accounted for, and I think that are very important to be understood. Now, the other question I wanted to ask about was really about applying AI in the hospitality industry itself. We were talking about before potentially the consequences of not being able to keep up with the development of AI, and potentially what's going to happen to these companies who are not adapting to it. So, two questions for you are essentially, what do you think needs to happen for the hospitality industry to start adapting to this? And number two is, what are the consequences for not being able to keep up with this transformation?
See, the consequences are going to be really egregious, because one, like, I give you a perfect example. There was when Sora came out, everybody in the world, around the globe, was started uploading their picture into ChatGPT and started creating caricatures.
Mhm.
Okay, cartoon-like characters, and started giving details about their profession in creating AI images. But even till date, I fail when I speak with leaders or organizations about AI literacy. They're not taking it seriously, because my biggest thing is that I've been told that I'm talking too about the vulnerabilities or the negative aspect. But
Mhm.
nobody realizes that once you upload your picture, you've basically given your biometrics away. It's not like I wrote a whole article about this, with that how vulnerable it makes. Like, this morning, that they were saying that, how we make the fingers like this, don't do this, because somebody can zoom in and get your fingerprints and get access into places that you were not there. So
Wow.
people, so before we are doing something, we need to ask that question, that what will happen when I press enter? And the argument I get is like, oh, my pictures are there on Facebook, my pictures are there on LinkedIn. That's very different. And,
Mhm.
like, I've always argued, like, use the AI before. I don't know anybody in this world that read the terms and condition when it's given.
No, and that's the other issue: data privacy, with
Right.
Instagram and with these
So,
these.
but we are not using AI for its advantage. So every time now I have to accept a terms and condition, I copy that, download it, upload it into my LLM, and I ask what I need to worry about in this.
Right. I think that's
And
really
then
interesting. There are
we are
billions of
using
people
it.
that yeah,
Yeah,
there are
we're
billions of people
using
that
it
give it away.
just for, like, in a non-productive way, reply to this email, or do this, or create this, or do that. But right now you have the capability to analyze, the pre-mortem, like, okay, what will go wrong if this thing doesn't
Mhm.
work, or this thing,
Mhm.
like, but then it goes back to the same thing that you have talked about, like, why
Exactly.
do we need to
What's the whole
implement
reason we're doing
AI
this?
for the heck of it? Or are we trying to solve a problem? Are
Mhm.
we elevating anything? So we really need to find the tasks that are boring, monotonous, that can be automated with human supervision in a
Mhm.
responsible way.
Mhm.
Because if you look at the the way the pace of change right now, 80% or more of AI is being produced by AI itself without any human intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, in that, like, you're never going to be able to keep up. But your foundational knowledge, but the level of your curiosity and the ability to ask the question is going to be the
Mm-hmm.
key.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the philosophers and everybody has talked about that we live in an era, like, you can simply, before you even think of a question, the answer is already there. But the answer
Yes.
that is getting, the AI is trying to please you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Exactly.
challenging you. You have to
Exactly.
throw the curveball around and say, now challenge me. So during my Perplexity fellowship, I had access to their best systems. Okay, they had given me over 100 plus licenses to share and
Mm-hmm.
basically create awareness. And one of the things that I used to, like, I still do, Perplexity has a chat feature. I put it on my phone and I pick a topic and I say, start questioning me, question my
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, and
Mm-hmm.
tell me where I'm going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not
Yeah.
like, yes, you can solve, like, everybody can become a thought leader, but do you have the knowledge and the substance to really talk about, like, it's just like luxury. If you look, no matter you are in San Francisco, LA, New York, Miami, Boston, every other building is luxury.
Mm-hmm.
If luxury has become so relative, then where is the commoner going?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I really wanted to say about that point about having the right domain expertise is you want to question to understand where are the gaps in your current industry. And then you want to understand how can I apply AI to solve it, not the other way around. I think that's kind of the idea with the intention aspect. What is the intention? It's the intention to have a shiny object here where AI is doing something, or is the idea you want to solve an actual customer problem? That's the
See,
idea.
see, that's the same thing. That same philosophy goes into when you are looking into any AI vendor that you're trying to work with. What
Mm-hmm.
are their roots? How deep do they go? What have they worked upon? Are they going to be around in the next 60 days?
Mm-hmm.
How are they keeping up with the new technology that is coming out? So, as an AI advisor, when I'm speaking to the companies, I always say, be honest with your client that, look, as the AI is developing, our ear is to the ground, and we are constantly iterating and challenging our system in order to build and
Mm-hmm.
keep on improving. But the point again goes back to is that foundational knowledge and understanding that doing things just for the heck of it is not going to be the answer. The answer is going to be that how do we build a high trust environment based on expertise, empathy, creativity, and
Love it.
generosity?
Love it.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
because it's all
absolutely.
about anything that you're building. It's all about, like, I tie it into that what thing it's gonna solve, what
Yep.
emotion it's gonna trigger, what kind of experience I'm gonna end up having, what kind of engagement I'm going to have, what kind of exclusivity. Even before the EU Act came out, when we were deploying AI agents, voice agents, I always said to begin with, announce that I am an AI voice agent to help
Mm-hmm.
you. My name is this, but at any point, if you feel uncomfortable, I'll be more than happy to bring my human counterpart on board. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what it creates, it's immediately, it's not creating an illusion that you're talking to a human, but it's going by disclaiming the fact that, hey, I am AI, I am being run by in an environment that is artificial, but
Mm-hmm.
my intention is to help you, save you time.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
give you an example. Like, the adoption is so still way behind, but we are not looking. My flight gets canceled. I'm standing, I've checked the baggage. Now, just to figure out where I can pick up the baggage, I'm standing in line with 100 people. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
that information should have been passed on to me. So, what it goes to point is that we got to be proactive, not reactive. So
Mm-hmm.
you really have to understand and have the domain knowledge and break down each and every task as to, okay, where do I need a human? Where can I automate this and give more time to the human to deliver that experience to the client. Imagine the person that is standing outside checking you in on your flight, instead of looking down, that they can really focus because AI is taking care of the minutia.
And
So
that
they can
requires
really,
domain expertise. Understanding this process requires domain expertise, and without domain expertise, you can't even solve the problem at the end of the day. So I think that's the most important concept here.
see what
Domain
happened,
retention.
when
Yeah.
you wrote a thesis, the biggest first, before you start writing a thesis, you have to take a class on research. So how to do research, so how to validate the information is correct. And even in this era where 80% all the data that has the human made data that has already been consumed, now the AI is training on and the synthetic data, and it's diluting the domain expertise.
Mhm.
And so you cannot believe every answer that you are getting from AI. You really need that domain expertise to validate it.
Exactly. Otherwise, these solutions are not useful. That's the point,
No,
right?
no.
Absolutely excellent. So what I want to do is go ahead and shift the conversation a little bit more about you, Rohit, quickly, and then we'll go ahead and conclude the podcast right after with your plans for this year. So the first question I have for you is, what is something about you or your life that you wish more people knew about?
Oh, um, it- that I wish people would, that how I have challenged myself all
Hmm.
my life from a very young age. I was
Hmm.
told, I'm an Indian. I'm not, I shouldn't be doing French cuisine, but I was a I was doing French Noël in London.
Hmm.
I'm talking about cooking. So it's all about the challenges that you put yourself through, help you shape you who you are. And so people to be able to understand, and that not to be, life is not about being in the comfort zone.
Hmm.
When you step into the uncomfort and the pain, that's when the growth happens.
Hmm.
So my journey has been so diverse and has gone through so many. It's not been a bed of roses, but I've been living my dream. I wanted to
Hmm.
travel the world. I'm the most traveled person in my whole family, from my mother's and to my father's side. But what it's done is changed my perspective. It's much more global. Think
Hmm.
local. You respect the country where you live in. I'm living in my third continent. I'm a US citizen. But again, it gives you a global perspective and change your mind. So
Hmm.
something that people don't know, that change has been, I've evolved so many different times that I am not. Sometimes people don't believe like how old I am, because they think like at such a young age, how could you do this, when they look at
Hmm.
my resume.
Hmm.
So, and being your authentic self is never easy, because that's something that my father taught me, that the reason you can't sleep is because you did something wrong. So
Yeah.
learn to
Yeah.
live with
Yeah.
your decisions and your values.
How did you do and approach life in a non-traditional way? As I'm assuming, and what you said before, is this is not something that was expected of you to do. So how did you approach doing something non-traditional like this?
I lot of trial and error, a lot of
Yeah.
sleepless nights, anxiousness of like what will be. But you reached a level where you're not basing it. You ask, instead of asking like, hey, why this is happening to me, ask what are you trying to teach me here.
That's the right question to ask. Right. I love that. That's
Because
a really good.
everything in life that happens to you, any good or bad, is teaching you something.
Hmm.
And life is not in it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be up and down. But how you become, in essence, um, the person with the experiences that you've had in life,
Hmm.
the good and the bad, they all teach you everything. So the point is, don't lose your humility, and remember, the tree that bears the fruit always bends down.
Love that. I really like that. It's a change of perspective. Instead of asking about why is this happening to me, ask what am I supposed to be learning here? Essentially, is a question. And
What are you trying to teach me? We all speak to the universe, or we all speak to whether no matter what religion, like instead of like, hey, why me? It's like, show me the reason why. Why?
Yeah,
What can I learn from this?
and the worst things that happen to you sometimes might be the best because it's an opportunity to become battle hardened. I would say your
See,
mind
I
becomes battle hardened.
firmly believe, Aryan, if anything in life doesn't work, personally or privately, professionally, I always feel like there was somebody in the universe was trying to protect you. Wasn't meant to be.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it's not something that, like I wanted to do Indian cuisine, but my superiors were like, no, we want you to do French. And like at that point, like when you're young, and really young, and you're like headstrong, like, no, because you're not. I give you an example. I had a young college graduate from Cornell. She was under, I hired her, but she used to constantly challenge me. And she says, like, why this? I don't agree with this. And it was always tough. But she didn't realize that she was my favorite because she was challenging me. She was not taking the status quo for what I'm trying to say and not
Hmm.
understanding the bigger picture. Um, After I left, I got an email from her saying, "Can you give me a recommendation?" I gave her a beautiful recommendation. An year later, she followed up with another email, and that was on New Year's, saying, "Now I understand what you were trying to teach me. Now, when I have to
Mm,
step into those shoes and I have to do," and I shared that with my superiors at that time, like, because we're all friendly with each other. It's a small community. And I said, this is, and that's something, an impact that, that young graduate after Cornell realized, like, now I understand why you were pushing me to do this, because now when I'm put in this situation, I know what to do because you
hmm
taught me what to do.
hmm Love that. So tell me a little bit more about your plans for this year, whether that be professional, personally, and we'll go and conclude the podcast after.
So my plan is to be, um, in hospitality and travel, to be the
Hmm
trusted leader,
hmm
uh, to bring change, bring knowledge and creativity with responsible, ethical use of AI, combined with governance and guardrails.
hmm
Because if we don't have those things in place, things can go wrong really fast and really make an impact. And bring a perspective. On June 3rd, I'm doing a panel at the Boutique Lodging and Luxury Association Investment Conference. So the first time I'm bringing a panel that is a head of AI from Panasonic, a former global head of AI from IBM,
hmm
the head of cybersecurity and data from Hitachi, and another cybersecurity expert. If you look at hospitality, no AI conference or conversation has brought such a diverse group of people. When I met these folks, they all bring such a grounding and such a real perspective towards AI that I cannot wait for that conversation. The
Love
Japanese
it.
philosophy, the mindful philosophy towards AI. So making an impact on that side, and really bring uplifting the future generation and the generations beyond to adapt this technology in a responsible
Excellent.
manner.
And is LinkedIn the best place to reach you and learn about you?
Yes, and bodhiminds.ai, my website.
Excellent. Well, Rohit, it's a pleasure to have you on. This was Aryan Mohindra and Rohit Khanna. Thank you for listening.